Aloha, it's me, Dashama. I'm here in Hawaii with Cindy Sellers at Angel Farms. And this is one of my favorite places to come. It has been so life-changing. So I thought I would just introduce everybody to Cindy and interview her a little bit to talk about this amazing program that she leads. It's a cleansing retreat and it's very unique. So I'll just tell you a little bit about it and then I'm gonna ask a few questions of her to share some really incredible stories, and you can find out ways that you can prevent sickness and disease and even surgeries and things like that. So this is something that changes lives, and it's changed my life as well. So it's a 10-day retreat. It's a very immersive experience where you stay here or you can stay nearby, and every day you do 90 minutes of colon hydrotherapy with a continuous machine. She calls it a baptism from within, which I think is actually a very appropriate term. And all liquid diet, so it's mostly warm blended soups and a little bit of other options just to sustain yourself. But basically the idea is to go in and cleanse yourself out all the way to the very end of the colon. So typically to talk about the colon is not that exciting, but I think it's one of the most important things in our health. And I'm a health expert, happiness expert, and your gut is known as your second brain. So if you don't have a healthy gut, you actually don't produce serotonin to be happy. And they say you produce up to 90% of serotonin in your gut. So this is super crucial for happiness and health and prevention of disease. So just to tell you a little bit about my experience and what happened for me. So I remember I was leading a yoga teacher training in Bali, and one of my students told me about this program. I told her I'd been having different issues with candida, and it was, I thought, caused from sugars that I was eating from the fruits in Bali. So anyway, she told me about this place and I decided to come, and I'm so glad that I did. So I had no idea what to expect, and when I got here, I literally, like on day 1, day 2, day 3, every day was a surprise. One day, actually 4 different days, I got a 12-inch parasite came out of me. And you can see it, and it comes out with a house, and it's like been living in there. She said maybe, what'd you say, like 10 years?
10 years at least.
Could have been, because of how big it was, and I was horrified and shocked. And another day I actually had like 40 of these little fluffers, which are little parasites that she said you could potentially get from sushi or
Raw
different
fish.
types of things like that. So I used to eat raw fish. I stopped about a year before I came.
Ooh.
And they were still in there. So that's the interesting thing. I had already been not eating any fish or anything for like 1 or 2 years, and I came here and they were still thriving inside because they were living large on my other nutrients that I was bringing with my green juices and my raw vegan food, and they were living large. And so 4 parasites and 40 fluffers later, I also released a lot of emotional trauma and baggage. So it was like all this stuff, because I had been attracting all these parasitic people that stole from me, lied to me, did bad things, and I didn't understand why. And when I had this experience, as they were coming out, each story revealed itself to me, and I was like, oh, that was Matt or whatever, you know. Each one was a human that had betrayed me and stole from me, and it was like that parasitic vibration that I was carrying in my gut that was attracting these people. I never told you this part of the story, but interestingly enough, after I left here, after getting all of these parasites out of me, I actually manifested, like doubled my income. I don't know if I did that. I made an extra $100,000 that year, and I paid off all my debts and everything like that. So it was actually like this interesting balance of energies and karmas by being, you know, so willing to go through this experience, because it's not necessarily pleasant, but at the same time, you know, like by the end you feel so much joy and bliss because you're like, yeah, I'm free from all that. So I would love to share, and if you can, you used to be, how did you get into this, first of all? You were a nurse? Or
No,
okay.
no. You know, my background way back there, I've been doing this now for over 30 years, and my background was not as a healer. I did concrete work, I sold mobile homes, I you know, grew up on a dairy farm, and so yeah, no, the calling was, I was in a car wreck in '83 in which my back bent in the middle, and so from '83 to '89 I lived in a lot of pain because the doctor said they can only break my back and put 2 titanium pins in it. And I refused because it just bent and not broke. And I'm like, I'm not gonna let you break my back. Thank you, I didn't go through with that. And then in '89, I just couldn't handle the pain anymore, and I was on my living room floor in a neck brace and mostly pissed off at God. Rah, it's not supposed to be like this. And then as I laid there and waited for an answer, and I don't know how long, but I waited until I got a download. And then, oh, you want me to do that? And I heard clearly, you said you would do anything. And I said, yes, I did. I said I would do anything. And so I started it, and sure enough, 10 days later, my back was straight and I was done. It actually happened on the 9th day when I feel like my answer was I got off the cross because God needed the wood for higher purposes than hanging me. And it was in the middle of my back was where the injury was. But it was my trauma that brought me to my intention. And then when the download came about what I was to do now with my my information that was coming in volumes. And interesting story is I was also studying herbs at that time, iridology at that time, naturopathic remedies at that time, lots of stuff in order to help myself, right? So we fill up what I call our toolbox of information. And so when that happened, after I had been doing this and seeing miracles right in the beginning, including in myself, I thought that this wasn't big enough. And so I didn't know if I was going to be doing it anymore. And so one of my Native American teachers came over and he said, Spirit kicked my butt to get over here. What's going on with you? And I said, well, I think I'm here to do really big things, and I don't know if this is big enough, even though it's miraculous, but I don't think it's big enough. And so I'm not sure. And he asked me, well, my intention was, and I told him, and he said, the reason why this is coming to you is because your intention is true. And he said, you need to understand that every time you help others to their clarity, which this cleanse does, you take 144,000 others with you. And that's Hopi knowing. And so I knew at that time that it was big enough. Every person counted that much. And so it settled me right into the work. And now I've been doing it for over 30 years and over 7,000 people worldwide, word of mouth, coming to do the program. And so, phenomenal miracles in watching people being able to see, where one guy legally blind in his right eye, he got his eyesight back, and legs coming back from not having to be amputated, and liver transplants getting off the list because their liver regenerates. But it's not just about the cleanse, of course. It's about what emotions and thoughts we're still stuck, that the body's still holding on to, until the body has to become the teacher, because it will be the teacher. And pain is a great awakener, right? So it will get our attention when we're uncomfortable, or there's lots of things going on about molds and candidas and chronic pain, and all kinds of stuff that's getting bigger now and not less. So we want to have an option that people can literally turn it around. And it's also about, first, spiritual, because we need to know that the gut is the colon is the boss. And if we're not getting it clear so we have full absorption through the bowel wall, the way the digestive system and the way the body is meant, then we lose the game. Because if we're not able to rejuvenate the organs and help get our system rebooted back up, then we degenerate instead of regenerate. And so this is all about regeneration.
Absolutely. And I really feel that. Like, one of the things that happened for me when these parasites came out, and I remember you said when the houses came out, she's like, finally when they're out, then your gut lining can start to heal. If you're trying to do all this healing of your gut lining from antibiotics or whatever perpetration has happened in there, then it's not going to really fully work, because they're like blocking the flow, right? And so that was another really big thing, just in terms of my experience for the parasite side of it. And you were telling me there were people that came that had like 3 feet or even up to 6 feet parasites come out. And these are like longer. Thin, fit, healthy looking people, right? They don't have like this big belly, like where you're like, yeah, of course there's a parasite in there. No, you're like, you can't even tell, right?
Right.
And you have pictures, right?
I have
show.
thousands
so
of
it's
pictures.
fascinating, because when I saw what came out of me, because I'm a fit, healthy person, you can see my six-pack and everything, and like I had 4 of them, 40 fluffers. I'm like, what is going on? So anyway, this is super important, and it's interesting because a lot of them are coming from fruits and vegetables, right? So this is kind of raw fruits and vegetables. Where are we getting parasites? Is that where?
I really don't think that it comes from our foods as much as it does our thoughts. And when
but they got to come in somehow.
They
Where
do,
are they coming
but we
from?
have to have a frequency, because we're frequency beings. And so when we have a lower frequency of fear, and fear, of course, contracts in the gut. And when that can't move through, so yes, parasites are going to come in, but they're supposed to be moving out by 10:30 the next morning if everything's working out fine. But when we become a house for them instead of a hotel, that's when they start to accumulate and become bigger.
Oh.
And so we want to make sure that, you know, we want to look at where our fears are and how it contracts and love expands, and we want to be more love, and we want to be great forgivers. And you know, I was just talking about this, and I'm going to get into it today because we're going to be talking a lot about that. What is really forgiveness? And forgiveness is when you come to the point when you recognize there's nothing to forgive. And you're really, you know, seeing everybody as seeds of God, even if they don't.
Yeah.
And you're making your choices of who you choose to walk with and who you're not, because some people have what we call parasitical thoughts and behaviors of fear. And that's those ones that tend to do unloving behavior to us and to themselves. And so it doesn't mean that we're not supposed to love them, but we are supposed to make our choices of who we choose to walk with, right?
That makes sense. You know, I worked a lot with forgiveness. Most people that follow me know that I grew up in foster homes. My parents were not really present in my life. And it's fascinating because this was actually, side note from the cleanse though, was that I worked a lot with forgiveness in my life. And I think the gift, or the secret of forgiveness, is seeing it as a gift. Like whatever happened, like you're saying, seeing there's nothing to forgive. But for me, even if there is a thing, it was a gift, because that thing brought you to here, and who you are now is wonderful and perfect and great. So knowing your greatness and then stepping into the knowing of that, you can see that every step of the way that led to this is the gift, even if it was painful, right? We can't learn without pain. We can't learn without challenges. We don't grow without these things in life. So it's good when you get to see all this. And what happens in the cleanse is it just comes up. Like you can see, you know, like for me, I had issues around safety because as a child, I didn't have parents hardly. So to me, that was like, I've always had these root chakra issues. I have no problems in my upper chakras. I'm like oneness with God all day long. And then when it comes to like safety, like feeling secure in life, those were my biggest challenges of life ever since a child because of my childhood. So anyway, coming here, root chakra healing is like a big, big lesson and so powerful and important. So I'm so grateful for you and all the work that you do. I encourage everybody to come to Angel Farms in Hawaii, try it out. Meet Cindy and her angelic, beautiful tribe over here that just is so supportive and loving and caring, and have your own transformation. You know, so many people come here after or before they get cancer or when they've had cancer, and it helps them to heal. And I mean, I don't have any of those issues, but just ultimately there's so much sickness and disease in the world. So the more we can do to prevent that, I'm all about spreading that message. So do it for yourself, and know that it's an investment into your future. You know, you could invest into this now and save yourself hundreds of thousands of dollars later on doctor bills and sickness. And so I always look at any investment into my health in that way. And that's also a way of spinning prosperity consciousness, because a lot of people have issues around, oh, it's 10 days, it's this amount of money. But ultimately, it's an investment in your future and in your life and your health and your happiness and in your family as well. So I highly encourage it. Thank you, Cindy, for everything. I love you. And I love you all. Have a beautiful, blessed day.
Aloha.
Aloha. Namaste.
Namaste.